You are listening to These.Are.The.Films, episode 10. This time we're going to be talking about Tootsie. Hello friends, welcome once again to our film club podcast, These Are The Films. This is episode 10. We're going to be talking about the Dustin Hoffman 1982 super favourite of all people, Tootsie.
All baby boomers. My name's Jim. Crispin's the person who failed to introduce me for the second week in a row. And
Well, that can't be right because you were introduced last time.
I know, it's the second time that you were supposed to introduce me and forgot to.
Okay.
And
is that because I didn't have the script up like you told me to do it?
Yeah, that could be. It could be. It's just a couple of pointers like introduce your fellow. What am I?
This.
Anyway,
this one. This one over here. This one, Jim.
Hi. Yes, we talk about films. We spoil them if you haven't seen it before, so go and watch the film. But you know, statute of limitations. Tootsie, come on, watch the film.
You got to.
Yeah.
If you have anything to tell us about our delivery, my lack of professionalism, the way that I try and undermine and demasculate Jim by forgetting to introduce him and pretending it's my podcast. Any tips, any feedback? We're very open and willing to receive criticism.
Indeed.
Abuse. Are we abuse? I'm all right with abuse. Are you all right with abuse?
Yeah.
It's not, as long as it's not too saucy.
Just lay off the weight, you know. I mean, 4 eyes is fine, but Porky's a bit much, you know. It's probably
okay.
that's off the chart. But yeah, other than that, fill your boots.
Yeah, and do get in touch with us. We do have a website, These.Are.The.Films.com. We're on Twitter and Facebook, all that stuff. You can find all the details on the website. Do get in touch. We're feeling lonely. So, Tootsie, Jim.
Tootsie, yes.
Tootsie.
Indeed. Tootsie.
Let me tell you why I chose Tootsie.
Yes.
Because if it is your first time listening, the films that we're choosing are films that mean something to us. There's a reason that we are watching them again. One of us watching them again, or something like that. It's not just like we haven't got a list from somewhere. Then we're not watching films that we think we ought to see or ought to talk about. It's films that mean something to us. So this film was when we first got our VCR in the early 80s. When my dad got a VCR, he also came with 2 films. And Tootsie was one of them.
Wow. Baby Boomer's favourite, Tootsie.
Yeah.
Yeah. One of the things that we always say about this is that we're doing films because they mean something or they're important to us, and that doesn't necessarily mean that they are good. And
although most often they are good. Let's face it, most often they are good. I think we did keep talking about the fact, we'll do a rubbish one. I don't think we should do rubbish ones. There's too many good films.
I don't know, I'm kind of feeling like we might have done a rubbish one this week.
Oh, well, really, Jim, because, right, interestingly enough, this was voted best film of all time quite recently. Let me just look up.
Quite recently?
Yeah, I'll look up before I commit to my statement. Let me just look up.
Must have been a men's magazine.
It was Time Out. It's last year, all right? Last summer. A poll from Time Out New York of actors.
Good Lord.
Juliette Binoche, Cillian Murphy, Andy Serkis. The pause there was me thinking, Andy Serkis. His ancestors must have been from the circus. But they must have been, right?
I guess so. Yeah, well, maybe I don't know anything about movies. Well, I think I've probably proved that over the course of this podcast. But yeah,
I think they like it because it's just it's a lot of it is just sending up the world of actors, isn't it?
yes, yeah. I can see why. Yeah,
they're like, that's me, that's you,
Yeah.
darling, that's you.
I suppose it's the equivalent of metafiction in literary circles, isn't it? But I always think there's something quite cheesy about writers writing about writers, and writing. There's guys who in their books the protagonist is an author. Oh yeah. Oh, is it semi-autobiographical? That's why you sleep with loads of pretty girls. No. Yeah.
Quite right.
I suppose that there's an element of that in this. It's actors acting about acting, isn't it? But yeah. I mean, I can remember watching it. I don't know, possibly fairly shortly after it came out. I mean, we weren't as posh as you, so we didn't have a VCR. In the early 80s. But we would have watched it when it was on the television, and I can't help noticing that it's never on television anymore.
It's not, is it?
No, and I wondered why it wasn't, and then I watched it, and it's because it's unbelievably sexist. And the reason why that's okay with other movies and not okay with this movie is because this movie thinks that it's being like really progressive, and it thinks that it's that it's women's lib and feminists, but it's shockingly misogynistic. And
oh, do you think?
Yeah, I really do.
I don't know about shockingly misogynistic. I think it was.
It's only shockingly misogynistic, and admittedly, I am using the internet hyperbole, but it's only that because it thinks it's the other thing.
Yeah, all right.
And it's missed the mark by so much. It's supposed to be like this essay on sexism, and it's just sexist.
But I think a difficult thing to put by the wayside. And carry on, but giving that we do watch these things and give them the grace of being from their time. I mean, no, you're not having it.
No, I forgive it a lot, but no, it's gone. I just think that it's no longer, and I might be wrong. You tell me. You obviously still like the movie.
Well, yeah, I don't know. It kind of it lost me for a long while in the middle.
Yeah. It gets good at the end. Once it stops being about gender politics and starts being about the relationships of the characters, then they're good at acting, and it's funny and interesting, but it's horrible, really.
I do take your point. This is I think within about the first 10, 15 minutes or so, 10 minutes, within the first 3 minutes, that sort of stuff is all set out for us. So, it's like, oh, now we are watching something here that's 1982.
Yes.
But when we say 1982, it looks like it's the mid-70s, it's just they're wearing 80s clothes.
Yeah.
However, there are a lot of other things that go on in this film, on top of just the fact that he's dressed up as a woman and all the hilarious encounters that he has because he's secretly a man but pretending to be a woman.
Yeah.
Learning how to be a better man by dressing up as a woman.
Tell me about them then. Convert me.
Well, something I particularly like about it that I hadn't seen before, I hadn't realised before, is that all of the supporting characters have a story and have a journey, and they all achieve something. Well, I don't know about all, but thinking about like every single one of the characters starts somewhere learns something, and then ends up somewhere else. It's
Okay.
not just the main character, the main person, or the main two people, or the I don't know what you call it, protagonist and the nemesis or whatever. It's not just those people. It's everyone has their own little story that's dealt with in a really minimal way. Like they just sort of, it's almost incidental, but everybody develops, everybody grows.
Okay. I guess that's good writing and good acting, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah, I think so. I think because they're. I think the reason that all the actors like it is because it's about acting.
Yeah.
And of course they'll like that because it's like that's job description, isn't it? We get some scorn for this, but that's in the job description. You've got to love yourself.
Yeah.
And be tortured at the same time.
Yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely. But I take your point on that. I mean, I appreciate that it has qualities, and I was excited to watch it again because I remember it being good, and I remember a really big fuss being made out of it. Our parents' generation were obsessed with it seemingly for a couple of years. It was the biggest movie for a couple of years, it would seem.
It was huge.
Absolutely massive. I mean, I don't know about box office or anything like that, but I do know culturally it had a big impact. People loved it. Mind you, at the time, Hoffman could do no wrong, could he? I mean, he was just going from hit to hit, and he was a huge star, wasn't he?
Yeah. What? Has he even had any lulls? What's a bad Dustin Hoffman film?
Anything to do with Meet the Parents.
Oh, right.
Because he's in all of them. And they're an absolute disgrace.
And there's the one where the monkey's got the disease. What's that film?
The monkey's got
Outbreak.
the disease.
There's a monkey.
Oh, I was going to say 28 Days Later.
No. Similar.
Loads of films have got that.
Yeah. The monkey's got the disease, and I think it runs around LA with Dustin Hoffman's chasing it.
I haven't seen that one.
Don't bother watching it, it's rubbish.
Okay.
Any other bad ones?
I don't know, probably. But I mean,
actually, I saw a film where I think he was it Emma Thompson who was his. I went and saw a film. Actually, at BAFTA, I saw this film. It had like a Q&A after it, and I was like, like it was in the olden days when I used to go on dates, and I went there with a lady who was like a member of BAFTA and all that, and I was like,
nice.
Right, check this out. And it was a Q&A with the director and someone else after it. It's a rubbish story because I can't even remember the film. But all I can remember about the film is it had Dustin Hoffman in, and he came to London and to find himself or something, and or to kill himself. Can't remember. But all I can remember about the film is every time they went for a walk around London,
they were on the South Bank.
Well, they were on the South Bank, and then they sort of turn round, continue a conversation. Then they'll be like at the middle of EC3.
Yeah.
And then go around another corner, they're in the West End. They're just jumping all over the place.
Seen that movie.
Have you?
Yeah.
Did it bug you as well? It infuriated me.
Yeah.
And I was thinking, I want to say something about this Q&A. I want to say something about this. But I couldn't, because I was on a date and I didn't want to be the fool, excuse me.
Yeah. Because then you're like the comic book guy in The Simpsons, where he says in episode what's the name of Itchy and Scratchy, he's playing the thing and worst episode ever and all that. Then you're just that guy. But I had exactly the same thing when I was watching Over the Top, and he's driving his truck through Arizona, and he's at the Grand Canyon, and he turns a corner and he's at Monument Valley, and it's literally 400 miles away from each other. And I was like, that's totally taken me out of my suspension of disbelief.
Is that Sylvester Stallone arm wrestling film?
Yeah, where he was arm wrestling for a truck.
Right.
which is, I mean, otherwise an impeccable piece of cinema. But that, you know, just. But no, I have seen that film, and it's some sort of blind date or something, and I don't know.
I can't remember.
It was rubbish.
I just spent the whole film in just fury about the geographical inaccuracies of their scrolls.
It was also a romantic comedy as well, which never go down well, do they? Romantic, oh god, terrible. I don't know. I don't know about this movie though, mate. I got to tell you, he's horrible to women in it. Horrible.
Yeah, well, that's something I wasn't expecting. You know, watching the beginning of it, I was just like, "Oh no, you're awful." I thought, you know, as I recalled it, and admittedly, I couldn't remember hardly anything about it. I remember that it was a soap opera, and he dressed up to get a part, and then he got the part, and then all hilarity ensued.
There's no build up to that either, is there? He's just suddenly he's doing that. There's no like, and a sort of ding. Oh, I know I've got an idea. It's just it just cuts to him, and he's dressed as a woman.
Yeah,
there's no like prep for it. It's very odd.
Well, I think, you know, like, if you think his journey aside, cause, I mean, his journey is really obvious, isn't it? Because it's spelled out to us as well. Like, oh, I found out how to be a better man by being a woman. Yeah.
By being a woman, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh.
So.
No, he didn't.
Thankful as all our feminist sisters were for Dustin taking that on his shoulders.
Yeah, yeah. Showing women how to be better at women. All women have got to be.
What would they have done without? What would the feminist movement have done without this film?
I know.
That's what we've got to ask ourselves.
Well, this is why it's so disgusting. Because all women need is a man to show them how to behave.
Well, that's quite right, Jim.
You wouldn't have inequality. You wouldn't be sexually assaulted at work if you just handled it like a man would. That's all it is. I mean, that is what it's saying. It's like, look, Dustin Hoffman will show you how to stop being sexually assaulted at work. Mm-hmm. Everyone back in the 70s and 80s were being sexually assaulted at work all the time. But then a man dresses a woman and he shuts that right down, cures it. Everything's fine.
Yeah. Well, you know, a large part of it is that he comes to terms with his own feelings about that, right? So in the beginning, he's a terrible lech.
Do you know what? In the end, he's still disgusting as well. He treats that poor girl like rubbish, the one who likes him, and he never calls her back, and she's asking him. The whole time he's learning how to be a better man, he's not. He's just learning how to get into the smalls of the lady that he wants to, and how to avoid the lady that he doesn't want to, but not by letting her down properly like a man.
Yeah. By
avoiding her and treating her terribly.
I guess, like, the reason that they get together is pretty awkward, isn't it? Like, I'm just gonna try on one of your dresses now. Oh, I've been caught just about to put one of your dresses on. My escape routes are as follows: make something up, have sex with her.
To get out of it.
Yeah. And then that puts him in a terrible situation. Because he has to have sex with her, otherwise he'll let a secret out. Or it's less awkward for him at that moment to have sex with someone that he shouldn't do.
Yeah. To lead someone on who obviously likes him. To ruin their friendship.
Yeah.
Just so that he can keep a secret. That they're sufficiently good friends with each other that he could tell her.
Yes.
I mean, he's so badly behaved in it, and he doesn't stop being badly behaved to her. And he does appear to learn certain things, like, sexually assaulting people is bad. And he learns that.
Yeah.
Because he's sexually assaulted. So it's not like through any sort of moral awakening. It's just purely from discovering how unpleasant it is when it happens to you.
Yeah.
and I can't really think of anything else that he does that redeems him and turns him into...
Yeah, but I don't know if it is so much about redemption. You know, here it's just about him being aware of himself, the things that he's doing that he thinks is okay, the way he's treating his former friend, now accidental girlfriend. And the excuses that he tells himself, the excuses he tells Jeff, he hears recounted to him by the director fella.
Yes, yeah.
And then that's like a big moment of, oh, maybe I shouldn't treat other people dreadfully just because I'm a man and she's a woman.
Yeah, but he still does. Do you know what I mean? That's the appalling thing, is that even after he's worked it out, he still doesn't act on it.
Mm.
But I mean, you know, that's not really what I object to about it. People behave badly in films. That's his character. That's fine. I mean, really, it's the it takes a man to show women how to.
Yeah.
That's the bit that I found hard to get over, because it was so painting itself as being progressive when it's all...
Yeah. Any strong women in it at all?
I don't even think it passes the Bechdel test, does it?
Doubtful.
No.
With Dustin Hoffman, he's contractually obliged to be in every single scene, isn't he?
I would imagine. I don't know. It's probably. Yeah, but I can't think of a point where two women talk to each other. I mean, not counting Dustin Hoffman dressed as a woman.
No. Nah, me either.
No.
Nothing is springing to mind.
There's barely even any scenes where there's two women on screen. No. Yeah, you know, for this feminist film, it doesn't even.
Is it a feminist film? Is it
No,
supposed to
but
be a feminist film either?
I think it puts itself out as being one.
Mm.
Yeah. And I know Dustin Hoffman came out and said some pretty awful things afterwards that he thought were... He's been criticised for... Yeah, he came out and said, oh, it was... Mm-hmm. I think he said something along the lines of, well, being in this film has taught me that if Tootsie was in a room, then I probably wouldn't go over and talk to her because she's not an attractive woman. And that probably means me missing out on the most interesting woman in the room because I'll only talk to attractive women. And he realised that that's wrong. And it's like, really? You've just realised that that's wrong.
If only I knew that the ugly woman was interesting me, I'd be straight over there trying to get off with myself.
Yeah.
The best dream I ever had.
Oh, so I don't know. I mean, things were different in the 80s, and I guess people were just trying to kind of get to grips with how gender politics was going to work. I mean, we still don't know. People are still getting it wrong constantly, and you know, at the moment you've got lots of nonsense about it. It's a really hot topic at the moment, I know. So, you know, and it's 2016, so 34 years ago, you know, at least they're trying and people are thinking about it, and it's good as a discussion piece to work things out. Until you start talking about these things, you don't know, do you? So, and far be it from me to start criticising it. I'm no expert on it by any stretch of the imagination. I mean, as a middle class white male, I really have no horse in that race. I mean, it doesn't get... I've looked on the privilege scale and it doesn't get much more privilege than me. So, yeah, the only thing I haven't got on my side anymore is youth. Now that I'm 40, I'm off the privilege scale. So,
not yet, Jim. It's a few more weeks to go.
It's actually...
Savour it.
2 months today, I believe.
Ooh.
No, 3 months today. We've got a whole quarter.
It's ages.
I know. Good. Yeah. Savour my 30s for the next 12 weeks.
So what does that give me? 10?
Yeah. There you go. Yeah, better organise that party, eh?
Mm.
Yeah, but no, I think it did get better. But the thing you're saying about, is there any strong women in the film? No. And I think one of the things was particularly, when they're at, what's her name? The lady that he's trying to sleep with.
It'll come to me in a moment, just as I look it up on the internet.
Well, anyway, they're at her dad's, and she's telling the story, and she remembers, she's talking about the rosebuds on the wallpaper in the room.
Oh, yeah.
And she says something along the lines of, I was always waiting for the rosebuds to open. And I just thought, I absolutely cannot bear this movie. At that line, it was like, oh, when I was a child, I used to look at the rosebuds on my wallpaper, and I was always waiting for them to open. Who talks like that? That's such an 80s film line. It doesn't mean anything. No, you weren't. Children aren't. As a young girl, you weren't thinking that. Yeah, I appreciate that it's a metaphor, the rosebuds opening and the blossoming into womanhood and all of that sort of thing. But dear me, I mean, no one talks like that. No one thinks like that. It is absolutely the very worst that the 80s has to offer in terms of dialogue, you know.
But this is it though. It's not. I suppose, yeah, it's guilty because it's pretending to be a sort of a realist film, but it's absurd. And then you pop in things like that, which are, like you said, that nobody speaks like that.
No.
And not only does nobody speak like that, nobody has ever thought that.
No.
Nobody as a teenager looked at their wallpaper and thought, "Oh, I wish the blossoms would open."
Doesn't mean anything.
It's a slack metaphor for.
Yeah, and it's shoehorned.
I'm just going to say something. I'm going to say something that means that I'm revealing myself to you, so the audience knows that I'm kind of falling in love with you, and now
I'm sharing
you're
some
conflicted.
intimacy. I'm sharing some intimacy with you, but we couldn't think of anything to write that was intimate, so we wrote a sentence that doesn't make any sense, just to demonstrate intimacy. Failed. But I think it was, I think that, no, the scene after that where...
Is this the scene where you just got up and walked?
Oh, I because of the podcast, I saw it through, and I'm glad I did, because, I don't know, it got better. It did get better, but I thought that was the low point. And then Dustin Hoffman as Tootsie has to babysit. And... and then, obviously, because he's a man, he's terrible at childcare.
Yeah.
And, yeah, that's probably an 80s thing, and, yeah, fine, I should let that off. But given that I was on paternity leave at the time of watching it, and was looking after
holding a bottle, probably, in Lenny's mouth, like that, with your chin.
Yeah.
As you... Yeah. While you're on your phone. And trying to write
notes about the film and feed the baby and wiping a bum with one hand and doing a damn good job of it. And I've got to sit there and watch this thing telling me just how rubbish men. I mean, the thing is, if a film's supposed to be dealing with sexist stereotypes head on, it probably shouldn't be quite so full of sexist stereotypes.
Yeah. Yeah, that's it. I agree with you. I don't think it's done anyone any good, but...
Sorry.
Did any of it make you laugh?
Yeah, I think that, I think it got a lot better after...
What about when Andy Warhol just popped up for no reason?
Yeah, I mean, it had some funny stuff. That was a bit odd. But, yeah.
Erica told me he used to put butter on his head every single night. Like a full pack of butter and put it on his head. And that was his for his hair and his skin. He put like actual butter on his hair and his face to go to sleep and then wash it off in the morning.
I thought he had a wig. Was that not a wig? Is that real hair?
I think it's his real hair, yeah.
It's funny looking hair.
Anyway, sorry, I digress. Yeah, what were we talking about?
You were telling me about how funny this film is, and you were going to give me some more examples.
I wasn't telling you about how funny it was. I didn't find it very funny. And
I don't really like farces. That's a big problem with it.
Yeah.
I
tell
like
you,
it.
you know, there was one bit that I laughed out loud, but
Oh yeah.
I think that this is more because, like I said, I couldn't really remember anything about it. I could remember that he did, that he dressed up as a woman, and that that there was a big reveal where they had to do the soap live, and that's when he did the big reveal.
Yeah.
That's literally all I could remember.
Yeah,
but then
that's all I could remember as
I
well.
could also, the only thing that I could remember about it specifically, the only lines of dialogue I could remember is when Commandant Lassard, at the end, when it all dies down, and then he goes, "Does Jeff know?" and then because. And I didn't realise that I remembered it until it got to the bit when he was about to do the reveal, and because that comes after that long middle bit where basically I'd lost interest like you. I was just like, oh.
Is that the farm bit?
Yeah, the farm and the and the angst and and treating that woman terribly. Yeah, all the stuff with the baby bottle. All that.
Yeah,
It's
again.
just boring.
Yeah, again. Act 2. Act 1, all right. Act 2, terrible. Act 3, all right.
Yeah, redeems the film.
Yeah.
And
no.
But yeah, this is it. This is, mate. I think film is redeemed just by that one line because
Okay.
because it was when he said, "Oh no," and then came out of the thing when he came out of the door at the top of the stairs, and then my brain went, blip, 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 you know how the memory sort of goes click 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 click. You just remembered that properly, and I was like. Waiting for it to happen, waiting for him to deliver it, and then because it went through everything, and then there's a brilliant pause, and then he's like, "Oh, does Jeff know?" And I was like, "Ha!"
Commandant Lassard's brilliant. He is. I'll give you that, and I was delighted that it was him as well.
Yeah,
he's very funny. Yeah, he's a good actor, isn't he?
Yeah.
I mean, he's only got that one character that I've seen, but yeah, he performs it.
Well,
really.
he they're like talking about everyone's journey again. He has a really nice journey. You know, his journey is right.
Stop sexually assaulting people.
Stop trying to kiss all the women. Yeah.
Sexually assault them.
Okay. Stop trying to sexually assault all the women because you think that you've a right to because you're the highest earning star on a really low paying soap opera.
Yeah.
But on top of that there is his job. He thought he was an actor, but he wasn't. He stopped acting years and years ago and just reads his lines, tries to get off with women.
Yeah.
But then through the journey of the film he comes to think about acting again and actually start to do more acting.
Yeah. Which
is nice.
Well, it's nice that Dustin Hoffman comes along and saves everyone.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I'm being really, I don't know, facetious, I guess, but I don't know. Yeah, horrible movie. Yeah. No, I mean it got bearable at the end.
All right. What about Bill Murray? Bill Murray is in it. Bill Murray. Everyone likes Bill Murray.
Bill Murray's in it. Yeah. So I guess that's a redeeming feature. And I was surprised. I'd totally forgotten who the cast was as well. And I was surprised that Bill Murray was in it. And Bill Murray was fine.
He's uncredited. He refused to have a credit.
Really?
Yeah. Because he said that in a couple of decades' time, someone's going to get really, really cross about how horribly sexist and awful this film is, and I want nothing to do with it. That's what he says. No,
Wow.
it was a practical joke, apparently.
What, him not being credited?
Yeah, he just organised it with his agent so that he wouldn't ever be credited for it. I don't know. That's the extent of my research.
It's about as funny as this movie.
Yeah.
I feel bad. You keep looking at me cross every time I slag.
I'm not looking at you cross. I'm just really tired.
Oh, okay. I'm in fine spirits because just before we started doing the podcast, you know that duet that Stevie Wonder and Michael Jackson did on the Bad album?
Mm.
That came on my podcast and my iPod just before we recorded this podcast, and that has put me in the best mood.
That takes you to your happy place.
Yeah, it's such a brilliant record. Yeah, definitely much better than this film anyway. Yeah, I mean, I don't want to come over all pious about it, but I just think that, you know, there are certain things about it that, you know, you can forgive in terms of it being dated and stuff. But I think it really missed the mark, and I think it did it in. It meant to be something, and it wasn't. And I think that is such a big problem with it that I find it really difficult to get over that. But, you know, just in case anyone thinks that I'm being a white knight and all of that, and you know, that I'm trying to stand up for the sexism and all that sort of thing, I did like seeing Gina Davis in her smalls.
Pause.
I thought you were going to laugh at that. You just looked at me like I'm some kind of weirdo.
I thought the pause would be better.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. Yeah.
That's a signal as well for where we have to cut it out. Otherwise, you just ruined it. You've ruined it for everyone.
Well, yeah. I mean, yeah. All of the people who are seeing me as a champion of women's rights, because you need a man to be the champion of women's rights.
Well, you're just a man for the job, really. Dustin obviously failed dismally.
Yeah.
It's time for you to take over. Take up the mantle, mate.
Why not? I got a big nose too. Right? Yeah. No, I just don't think I can get over it.
Dustin's a weird name, isn't it?
I suppose.
There's not many Dustins.
I guess not. There's not many Crispins.
No, there's not.
No. Plenty of Jims. Plenty.
Many Jims. Crispin Glover. There's one famous Crispin. Dustin Diamond. Screech out of Saved by the Bell.
Okay. Right.
And Dustin G.
I don't know who Dustin G is.
He used to be the comedy partner of Les Dennis, but then he died, and then Les Dennis was all on his own.
Well, okay.
That's all. That's all we've got time for this episode. Then we've exhausted.
I think we've definitely
how many Dustins are there in the world? 3. How many Crispins? 2. Me and
maybe
Crispin
Dusty
Glover.
out of Dusty Bin is short for Dustin.
No, I don't think it is.
Okay.
I just don't think. I don't think you're right, Jim. I'm out.
Yeah.
Anything to wrap up? I don't know. Could you wrap it up in 10 words? I'm just going to say awful 10 times.
Yeah, it's not awful. I feel quite bad for slating your choice. But
well, this is the important thing, Jim. You know, it's not like it wasn't my choice because I thought, oh, this is the best film ever. Jim is going to love this because he's so into feminism. What he's going to love is Dustin Hoffman saving the silly women from themselves. You know, it's because the only reason I chose it is because, well, actually, it's because it was on Mubi.
That's interesting, yeah.
And I remembered that the VCR box.
Yeah, I mean, it was a good choice, yeah, because we were both raised by baby boomers, and baby boomers were obsessed with it. So, and you know what? I will, at the moment, what with Brexit and what have you, I will just about do anything to go out of my way to find another thing to criticise baby boomers about, and we've found it with this. Because at the moment, I hate baby boomers, and their choice of movie is terrible. I would like to discuss the music briefly.
Do.
Yeah,
I can't remember the music.
There was a montage, and it had like some sort of theme that I would imagine is called "Go Tootsie Go," because that's how the lyrics to it were, and it was terrible. It was a terrible song, and the montage was just.
Oh, is this when she's getting her picture taken? Is that?
Yeah.
Right.
Well, it's just not. Why has this film got a montage? I mean, they're so lazy anyway. But just terrible. And then the theme tune at the end is a song called "It Might Be You," and I looked it up because I think it might be the worst song that I've ever heard in my entire life. It is appalling. I mean, it doesn't even sound like it's sung in tune. I mean, it is. I mean, I've just never heard anything like it. I was sitting there just incredulous, just nearly fell off my seat. I was so disgusted with how terrible this song is. And it was nominated for Academy Award for Best Original Song. I mean, it is just rotten. The Academy must have been all over this movie. I mean,
well, of course they were, because it was about them.
It's about actors and they hate women. So, yeah, perfect. Perfect movie for them. Yeah. Anyway. Yeah, so, no. Not a lot of redeeming features to this film. I think that the best thing I can say is that after the baby bit, which was him looking after the baby, which is such a low point, at least after that it became vaguely watchable, because it's just started being about how he was changing people and how people's attitudes were changing and their character development started, instead of it being like this is what the premise of the movie is over and over again, beating you over the head with it. So yeah, I'm going to give it.
So what is your sum up?
I'm
putting you on the spot. I don't have one.
Well, no, I don't know. No, men have got no business getting involved in this kind of thing, I think, is the best thing to say about it. I don't know. There's a speech from when they're at the farm and I wish I could remember her character's name, but Les is the dad, and he's chatting up Tootsie, and he says to her, "Men should be men and women should be women." And I just thought, are you speaking for the film? Is that what the film is trying to tell us? Because it's just ridiculous. Yeah.
Well, there we have it, I guess. I think I was able to let go a little bit and roll through the film. It was boring in the middle.
I think you're kinder than me when it comes to letting things go in terms of their age.
It's enforced from watching Risky Business, because when I was watching that, I was just like, this is rubbish. This is rubbish. How am I going to talk about this? It's just absolute rubbish. Well, I suppose you have to give it its all. And then it was like, from that moment on, as soon as I stand by that. I said it in our first podcast. I stand by it. If it was like, I thought, I've got to let go of this, otherwise I'm just going to go to the podcast and say it's rubbish.
Just like what I just did. You had to let go, otherwise you were just going to do what I just did. Yeah, I think that's probably fair enough. I'll try harder next time. But I don't necessarily think that. I don't know, why is it that it's films from the 80s that we talk about having to let it go? Because when we did an older film, we didn't have to forgive it anything.
Yeah, but I mean that's an older film it's set in a prison. It's set in something that doesn't change. That Cool Hand Luke was like written in like the 40s or something, wasn't it? It's set late 40s, early 50s.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, because it's not set in its time, is it?
It's not trying to do a thing.
Yeah.
Whereas, I think, like looking at Risky Business, talking about Risky Business, there was I felt really uncomfortable with that notion of privilege that they were supposedly sending up, but at the same time really celebrating.
Yeah.
And I suppose, we just demand more now, don't we? I think especially when we're talking about things that we, as people, I mean specifically you and me, that I know that we're quite passionate about. These things mean a lot to us. Equality means a lot to us. The notion of understood privilege. These things mean stuff to us.
Yeah.
So it is. I do completely appreciate how difficult it is to just let that go, especially when, unlike Risky Business, which at the beginning it's ladled out pretty hard, but then dies off and they just have a silly film.
Yeah. Whereas
this does keep coming back to it, and then the whole end of the film is da-da. So don't feel too bad about it.
Okay. I mean, I did get over it at the end, and I did stop. Once it got more interesting again, because you're right, the middle bit is so boring. But once it got more interesting again, I did get into it again a bit more. And when you're being entertained by a movie, it's easier to forgive it its sins, because at least you're being entertained. If it's boring, then you're just sitting there cursing it for the things that are wrong with it. So I guess that's it. And the pacing is so different in films these days, and you don't realise it until you watch an older movie, and you just think, can this just hurry up? You get so much more story in a shorter period of time in modern movies. Modern movies are so much faster, and I think that's one of the reasons why I struggle a lot more when I'm watching older movies. And even when you go back to the 90s, the pacing's wrong on them, and it feels wrong. Movies are so much faster now.
Do you think?
Yeah, I think probably.
There's a thought for everyone to take away.
Yeah.
And
tell me whether you think
come back at us on Facebook and Twitter. Are movies faster now than they were in the olden days?
Yeah, that's certainly. I would certainly like to be. That's what I suspect, and so if you know any better, please tell me. Correct me, that'd be good. The best way to find anything out isn't to ask people a question, it's to tell them something wrong, and they jump over themselves to tell you what's right, don't they? That's a law. Poe's law, baby. Something. Anyway, yeah.
Okay, well, I think let's wrap it up there.
Yep.
And I will now hand over host duties to you.
Hi.
To pick a film for me to gun at.
And you might do, because I have no idea whether you've seen this movie or not. It's an old one, because it's been 3 weeks since we've recorded. We're recording it a bit late this time. I have changed my mind a number of times about which film we're doing, but then I saw this appear. I was reading through Netflix and I saw it on Netflix, and I thought, I haven't seen that in a really long time, so I decided to do it so that I could sit and watch it. And it is Michael Ritchie's 1977 comedy Semi-Tough.
Ooh, never seen it.
Haven't you?
No.
You heard of it?
No.
I might not tell you anything about it then.
Okay.
So, and it is available on Google Play. I did check. Because I've been told off for picking films that aren't on Google Play. So yes, I have checked. It is all.
I didn't tell you off.
I know. I want it to come across as I'm being bullied by you, and you know, like the sort of cannon and ball kind of
I see.
relationship.
Well, we'll take it up offline
Okay.
when I'll really lay into you.
Okay, cool. So yeah, let's get that movie watched, and tune in to hear what we think of it. It's another sports movie, I'm afraid. You can tell us what you think of it at Twitter on TATF Podcast, and Facebook at facebook.com/These.Are.The.Films.
And the website is These.Are.The.Films.com, where all of our links and details are.
Lovely. Froggy Love Daddy?
Daddy Love Froggy.